This is the Uniform Show, episode 3, where we will be reviewing the end of the World Series and then what's taken place in the NFL. First off, this was the World Series game number 5 in Philadelphia. Now, at that point, there was not any surprises really in the World Series other than the Astros wearing blue. And even the last episode, we said how pleased we were that the Phillies had worn nothing but their standard uniforms. And then Game 5 happened.
Not only did we get the Astros in orange, but we get the Phillies in an alternate in the World Series, and not just an alternate, but a road alternate.
I thought the Astros coming to the series that it was likely they would wear orange. I wasn't expecting the blue, but I thought it was likely they'd wear orange. I was thinking, well, if the Phillies wear an alternate, which is not very likely, they would wear the home white without the pinstripes and the blue hats. But I never expected them to wear this, and certainly not a road uniform. And they ended up losing the game, too.
It figures. Don't know when this has ever been done. Definitely not in our lifespan of watching baseball, going back to the mid-90s. But
it's been one thing when one team has chosen to wear a color, but both teams? I mean, is it the World Series or this is an exhibition game? I can recall a color-on-color matchup in the World Series. It was the Indians and Cubs. Both teams wearing blue. But here we have a traditional team like the Phillies wearing the road at home. And this was the last home game they'd have, regardless of what would happen in the series. This was the final game in Philadelphia, and this is how they chose to have their final home game of the season be wearing a road uniform. I like the uniform, but how do you wear it at home? How do you wear it in the World Series?
right, at least they could have worn the home version of this uniform. And I know that is not something they currently had in their uniform selection. But you just can't do this in the World Series from our perspective, and especially when it's so different from their primaries, and they didn't have bad games in their primaries, so it's even more strange.
Well, that was Game 5. Game 6 was the final game of the series where the Astros would defeat the Phillies. And I have to back up for a moment because when we were at Game 3 of the series, especially have to say about the Fox broadcast being Joe Davis and John Smoltz, they were talking as if this series was over after 3 games. It was a dominant win by the Phillies, but slow down. It was Game 3, and they didn't even make it a 7-game series. The Astros win the series, and then they decide to wear color again. And I'll say, at least I think of the two, the blue's better. I always take blue over the orange, and especially with the Astros. That's their primary color. It's not orange, it's blue. I can't stand the side piping on these.
Yeah, to us, they won in spring training uniforms. These are, again, as we already said, very similar to spring training uniform styles of the past, and it just doesn't work. At the present, the Astros have had this pattern across the front of the uniform, all around the midsection with the tequila sunrise of the past, but on the side with a dark blue uniform like this, just go all the way or don't bother. All blue or all retro.
I don't like any of the uniforms the Astros have. But at least you can wear white. At least you can wear gray and not go with the colors. And it was 3 times this series, if I'm correct, that they wore color uniforms. Then, the final 2. Game 5 orange, Game 6 winning it all in blue.
Basically, the only thing we can compliment them for is not wearing their City Connect Space City uniforms, blue on blue, but they started the World Series well. They came back with the grays one time in Philadelphia, but too much color throughout, and I'm sure if they could have thrown in the Space City Connect uniforms, they would have, and you can only imagine that they will allow that at some point in the future if the Phillies are allowed to wear a turn back like they did.
Yeah, we have to celebrate our small victories, and that's where we're at with uniforms so much of the time, and it is the uniform decline across the, I would at least say, MLB and NFL. NBA, for the most part, in the playoffs, they don't mess around as much. They tend to be more conservative. But you have to celebrate your small victories and say, well, at least they didn't wear City Connects yet.
Right.
But it won't be long till they do in a World Series. And last thing I want to comment on before we officially move on from baseball for this year is a quick congratulations to Dusty Baker, even though this is not just a general sports show, it's uniforms. I don't know when else we're going to get an opportunity to say it, but I do want to congratulate Dusty Baker. He's been a great manager all these years, just never been able to get over the hump. I honestly thought he never was. But happy for Dusty Baker. This wish that could have been with another team, even though I'm not an Astros basher, because I feel all teams are looking for an advantage. Maybe they cheat it more than others.
Yes, of course, we wish it was with our home team, the Giants, in 2002, but...
Or the Cubs in 2003.
Right. If not the Cubs.
The long list, the Reds, the Nationals, any of those teams. I mean, it's a win's a win, and I'm happy for them, but it is just a strange feeling with the Astros because of what happened in the past. And seeing him go from the National League to the American League is really weird because he's always a National League man all the way.
Right.
Now the NFL, where it seems to be ugly in this league, and this year it's getting worse. And this here is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who played against, I always want to say the Oakland Raiders, but it's the Las Vegas Raiders. This was in Jacksonville. And they decide to wear these, again, color on color. They almost look like they are one piece. Right. The jersey, the pants, and we can't even say socks, the stockings that they wear and then the only thing that's separated is the helmet and the shoes.
And especially with the pads being smaller than they used to be, most noticeably in the legs, it just really is small and skin tight, and the top of the players looks very big and bloated, and the lower part of the player looks very skin tight and smaller, just very disproportionate looking. There's no contrast, and this is one of the closest examples we have to a bodysuit that we've seen probably this year, if ever. The only thing you can compliment them on is not having the two-tone black and gold helmet that they had in the past, or the shiny black teal hybrid color helmet that they've had in the past, which is a little bit similar to what the Cardinals now have with their black, the red glittery shiny helmet. But that's about the only compliment we can give them.
And this is some show we have here for what's wrong with the NFL. This is a real downer, to be honest, going through everything we have here in the NFL, and it's not an attempt to just pick out what we don't like and just to be here and rip teams and criticize teams. It's just an honest look at how bad uniforms have become, whether it's the design, whether it's style, which I never thought I'd see something like this in the league, and it's becoming more common. I mean, there's no stripe on the pants, and then the thing about the socks was the socks would be two different parts. You'd have more of the traditional sock that would go, midway, and then it would be a different color. Then it would be, white on the bottom, and then halfway up would be one of the team colors. But no, it's just all one color. Can I say anything positive about the Jaguars? I agree with you. The helmet has been a lot worse in the past. The jersey is not that bad, but from the waist down, it's all bad. And of course, being this color on top of it, it's very amateur. It's unprofessional. But this is not even the worst of the uniforms today. As we move on to the Houston Texans, who played a Monday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And interestingly enough, this was the same night as one of the World Series games. In fact, it was the same night as the color-on-color matchup we were just talking about. How often does that happen with a primetime football game and then a World Series game between the two same cities, Philadelphia and Houston?
Very rare. Must have been one of the only times, the only time ever.
Yeah, because it's not even like, it's Dallas and Philadelphia.
Right.
It's Houston, specifically Houston and Philadelphia.
The odds of that. Can't imagine it's happened before.
Well, with these, and we're really looking at the alternate helmets, we didn't know what to expect exactly with what they would wear. We suspected, and we were right with most of these. We just knew they were going to wear the helmets. But we didn't think they were going to wear blue, so they went with red. And I'll say one positive right out of the gate, and this is really the only positive I'll say, is when we did the full helmet review, I was asking that they would not wear red all the way down, that they wouldn't have red helmet, red jersey, red pants, and at least they didn't do that.
Yeah, that's the only positive really about these. There is a little bit of contrast in the uniform at points, but it is a lot of the same color. And what I mentioned in the helmet review that we did previously is what has happened here, that under certain lighting conditions the helmet just does not match the jersey very well because it's metallic. And I'm not going to say that I prefer matte, but I would prefer if they just made it a plain red, glossy. It would at least match the jersey a little better under darkness, under non-sunlight conditions, and it shows it here. It's not a very good match with the jersey.
I completely agree here that it does stand out that these two do not match the helmet from the jersey. That's what we thought when we went through the helmets. And am I thankful that it's not matte? You bet. You know, you pick between metallic is one extreme, matte's the other. That's why we have the regular glossy helmets. It's the perfect in between. That's why they were what they were all these years. You know, it's a matter that, yeah, what a relief it's not matte. But again, you just look at this. You don't even have to look at it closely, and you're like, yeah, it's something's off there, and that's it.
And unlike with the Cardinals, they still have the regular glossy red in their logo that they could have used for the helmet itself. I suppose they did that because they wanted to make contrast, but the Cardinals actually changed their red in the Cardinal logo to a metallic red as well. So you do see what they could have used in the logo here.
Then there's the New York Jets. There's some things you can say about certain teams, like the Texans. We don't like it, but the Jets are a whole nother story.
They've been having an identity crisis ever since they changed their uniforms from the classic Joe Namath era uniforms, which, again, we always like to point out they won the Super Bowl in those. And now we go a step even farther with the black helmets to go with the black jersey and pants. And it's pretty much as bad as we thought it would be, except there is one feature that we didn't necessarily expect. And that is players wearing see-through stockings.
Yeah,
from the knee downwards, not even socks.
I mean, it's almost 100%. It's almost completely transparent. We'll get back to that in a moment. We'll go from the top down here. That's how I want to approach it. The helmet design with the regular green helmet, that it's kind of a metallic, I call it a metallic aluminum helmet, is what they have. You know, this is a matte, and I think the logo, we said, is kind of on the weak side, but it's not something that we scream over. What bothers me most about it is, and this whole uniform, is the Jets had a white helmet. You know, and they've had a green helmet in the past, and they've gone back and forth, but you go from white, traditional white, all the way to black, and that just rubs me wrong right there. And this helmet's a black matte helmet. Then the jersey, the regular Jets jersey, it's black here. It's one of the worst designs in the whole league. And why do we need to have New York that big. We've said it before, we'll keep saying it. People don't know who the Jets are, considering how much attention the Jets get. And what blew me away was when the Giants were good and they were winning Super Bowls, the Jets were getting more attention.
Right.
And the Giants are the successful and more significant team in NFL history. Compare the Jets only winning one Super Bowl. Maybe that's why. Maybe people really don't get it that this is the other New York team. I don't understand. We're not in New York. I don't understand why the Jets get so much attention when the Giants were winning multiple Super Bowls and the Jets have only been in one Super Bowl.
I guess when you're the first to do it, you get that status.
And then the pants. The pants are very bad. I mean, anytime you don't have a solid stripe on the pants, you're doing it wrong. And then, yes, the knee. The knee here, that's full-on stocking, full-on pantyhose. I mean, just how does that get on a football field? I don't know. It depends on the angle. And this is as bad as, I suppose, it's going to be as bad as it's going to look, or it could possibly look. But this is what football players are wearing now.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to not go as far as to be bare-legged like college and high school, but they're trying to get as close as possible now with these super thin stockings.
It's apparently what they want to wear. It's not just, okay, this is what the team gives them, considering how popular this has become. And it's going to be this visible, I suppose that's how you guys say it, this exposed when you have black, an extreme, like someone having light skin, and then you have black. It's going to show the most. But yeah, it's like almost the point where what, they're going to just eliminate this all and it's going to be like college.
It makes you wonder. And as I pointed out many weeks now, when we've been watching games together, when it comes to teams wearing the stockings, the see-through stockings, the same color all the way down, up and down, on an alternate uniform, there is no variation or difference among the players. They all buy into it and they all wear it. But when it comes to the traditional uniforms or the primary uniforms, there's all of this room for variation and different colors, different lengths. So people must want these stockings and they must want the alternate skin tight look. And when it comes to the traditional uniform, they don't.
Yeah, there's two things that separate amateur college sports from professional sports. In the NBA, I say it's the t-shirts in college, and you're supposed to lose the t-shirts in the NBA, and that's a whole nother episode right there. In the NFL, it's, well, you have the full uniform. You have your legs completely covered. What are they doing now? They haven't done that yet, but you really start to wonder, are they going in that direction? And a part of the uniform is supposed to be the socks. And the socks are an important part of the uniform. We talked about that, our full uniform review. All the best uniforms have, for the home uniform, it's the helmet matching the pants, and then the jersey color matching the socks. And it is the best look you can go with. And then you have all these teams that want to go just one color all the way down. And to me, I look at the Jets, they're no better than an expansion team, and you can just cut them off from the history they've had, though it's very little success in the history. That Super Bowl III with Joe Namath still matters. But they decided that they're going to be this.
Right, and as we mentioned in our uniform review, hopefully in the coming years they will use the alternate helmet to bring back the Joe Namath throwback uniforms, and that Nike can get the colors on the jersey right and just get that whole uniform right.
We'll move on to the Jets. And now we're on to the Panthers. And it's black. We said ugly, ugly, ugly. And it's this night that we're doing this. It's black, black, black. We have the Jets going all black. We have the Panthers going all black.
And all we can really say positively is that the Panthers were a team that featured black in a big way from the very beginning. It is one of their primary colors, so at least there is some sense that comes in having it, but it is still very inferior to their standard look, which has good contrast. Yes, it's similar to the Raiders, but they imitated a very strong color combination, historically strong contrast set, so you couldn't really blame them. And enough is different, at least to us, that we like the silver helmets with the black jersey and silver pants.
You may be surprised to hear this. This was not as bad as I thought it would be. For the reason that the design is still good. I mean, I'll say that the actual design of the helmet is good. The problem is it's matte and there's too much black. What's intact that's still good is you have the same jersey. The
Right.
same home jersey. It's unchanged. Even the pants are all right. I mean, we've come a long way, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that in a bad way. That we were complaining several years back when the Panthers decided to go white jersey, black pants. Now we have it's not just black on black. It's a black helmet too. I still think it's really bad. But I don't think it's nearly as bad as the Jets. And for being black all the way down, I suppose I can tolerate this more than I expected. I remember saying I wouldn't watch a game with the Panthers wearing this, but if you said, well, which one couldn't you stand? I would say the Jets. Of the two, the Jets are worse.
I agree. And the main thing, and we said this in the helmet review for this year's new alternate and throwback helmets, is I just can't understand why they didn't use for the logo on the helmet the same as on the jersey with the white or silver eyes and teeth for the Panther, so that matches and stands out, makes more contrast.
That.
Yeah, and also for the stripe down the middle, if it would match the jersey instead of just having the blue and the black, have it match the jersey with the silver as well, make it stand out and match better.
Right, because you could say if you're doing that, why even have white numbers?
Right.
At least at the very least, you could still have the white eyes and the teeth in there. It's just into the inconsistencies.
Right.
And we don't even have this on the list because we're really addressing the worst of the uniforms, but we'll deal with it another time. The Bengals. Why is the logo on that all white orange?
Right.
I mean, it's just puzzling. But it's very predictable that they wore this on last Thursday's football game, prime time game. Saw it on the calendar, and we said, "Oh, that's going to be the game. They're going to wear this."
Right.
And
I Amazing it took them that long to wear them, and they have worn the white jerseys on top every single game this year up until this point.
And for us, the Panthers, although it's not in a real regional uniform, the original Panthers, I think it's an underrated uniform. And as you said, it's different enough from the Raiders because they throw in that additional color. They just haven't been able to get it right other than 1 week this year. And they need to go back to the black. It says silver, black, silver when they're at home most of the time. And if they're going to wear the white on white, bring back the blue socks because it matches. Again, it can match the jersey, it matches the pants.
Right.
But it's another team that has no direction. I mean, okay, you could say the Jets are playing better. We'll see how long it lasts. The Panthers are one of the worst teams. They have just been awful here for a number of years now, and they don't have any kind of identity. The Arizona Cardinals.
And we have what we were talking about a little bit with the Jets here, with the black helmet, with the glittery red and the metallic red Cardinal logo, metallic yellow bill. They have worn these now twice, one with the black jersey and white pants, and the other with the black jersey and black pants. With the white pants, it looks a little bit better, but it's still just amazing that this is the Cardinals, not the Falcons.
I say the same thing I said about the Jets, but it's worse because they've always had a white helmet that they flip all the way to black. And they've been really hot on black for years. We've seen them go from white helmet, black jersey, white pants, which you could say, okay, I can see how that can look good, but I don't like it for the Cardinals. Then it became white helmet, black pants, and black jersey. White, black, black. And now you have either the black, black, white, or black all the way down. One thing I will compliment them on is at least it's not a matte.
Yes.
That's nice to see. But the Cardinals are white. White helmet, and of course they should be red, if anything. And I don't really say, I'm not saying I want to see a red helmet, but a red helmet would make more sense than some kind of outline of the Cardinal face than, or head, than going with black.
And we said that in our alternate helmet and retro helmet review at the beginning of the year. If anything, they should have gone with red, but that's just too obvious. Although you could say that black is now just too obvious.
Yeah, everyone's gone with black, so black's been worn out, so they'll have to go in some other direction next year. And at least I can say that the ones that are lined up, the alternates, look like a much better group that we can actually say something positive about next year. We haven't seen the Cowboys yet, and we have seen the Patriots, which is good. Waiting to see the Cowboys. Thanksgiving's coming up in a week or two, so we will see the turnbacks. That's what we expect they will wear for Thanksgiving against the Giants. And I wonder if the Giants will wear turnbacks themselves. I'm all for the Giants wearing the 80s and 90s, which they have. And I just say at this point, go all the way back. I mean, just go ahead and make those your standard uniforms.
I agree. And I'll say the same for the Cardinals here. Just go back to the original Cardinal uniforms, or at least have them as a throwback, because those were the best that they've had too.
Yeah, and the thing is, JD, that we used to complain about the Cardinals wearing red on red. I mean, it's laughable, the things we used to complain about. And we've got, I mean, 5 years ago, do you think we would have been talking about or maybe I should say closer to 10 years ago, when we were saying why the Cardinals were in black and home, but a little further back when we were complaining about red on red. Someday the Cardinals are going to be black, and that's going to be their primary color, and that's what they want to be.
Right.
Wouldn't have seen it coming. But I'm hoping this is just a phase for all these teams, and they will get over it. And that's a wrap for our third episode. Very disappointing with NFL uniforms in general, from these stocking tights and then all the alternate black jerseys. I'm hopeful the next time around we'll actually have some good uniforms to review.